the virus is going to have major impacts on local businesses, small businesses. We've seen this across the board just as of lately, restaurants shutting down. What do you think is the best approach in terms of still working to support them, if that, and what do you think this means for the Low Country?
Well, I can tell you, Low Country is made up of small businesses, and they're hurting. And so it's important that we do everything we can to support our small businesses. I can tell you that the legislation that we passed out of the House a couple weeks ago provides up to $7 billion worth of small business loans, and those should be accessible any day now. But that's not going to be good enough. It's great that people have access to those loans, but as we contemplate a further spending package, which I think is inevitable, the small businesses and specifically our tourism industry, food and bev, is going to have an injection of capital, not just loans, but an injection of money coming in from that stimulus package. And so as we start to craft further legislation and a stimulus package, I think it's important we keep those small businesses like the food and bev industries at the front of our mind when we talk about how we're going to spend the money to take care of their employees and make sure those businesses keep their doors open.
In light of recent events, would you suggest still, I guess, doing the takeout approach from local restaurants that maybe are shutting down?
I'd encourage people to continue supporting small businesses in any way they can while keeping themselves safe and by not exposing other people to germs or the virus. I can tell you, what I'll be doing is ordering takeout food or Uber Eats or whatever I can do, because we do have a great industry here in the Low Country. It's important that industry perseveres and continues after this thing is passed. So yeah, I encourage people to the extent that they can order takeout or delivery, so that these businesses can stay open and people can stay employed.
We're hearing from viewers, actually several times we've had people write into us that they're having a hard time actually obtaining tests. What do you know about the process thus far? Because I do know that the CDC and DHEC is involved, but people aren't able to get them. What does that look like?
Well, in our discussions with the governor, we've been assured that South Carolina has an adequate number of tests that they need right now, and we'll be requesting more tests on a rolling basis. But the receipt of good information is critical here. First and foremost, if someone feels sick, do not drive into a hospital, do not drive directly to your doctor's office, stay home, stay put, call your doctor, call your healthcare provider. If you don't have one, go out to musc.care. They got a great website there that screens for potential symptoms of the coronavirus, and then it'll have next steps on what to do if you tick off a certain number of those symptoms. So, like I said, stay home, contact your healthcare provider, and or go to musc.care and follow the steps taken there.
What so far is your opinion on the federal government's approach to the pandemic thus far?
Well, I think initially there's some mixed signals coming from the administration, but now I think hopefully we're all singing from the same sheet of music, and we need to focus on getting people the right information and the accurate information. That's why we tell people cdc.gov is a great resource to have all information of the do's and don'ts, and more information about healthcare providers and screening for the coronavirus. People can also go to our website, cunningham.house.gov. But I think what is, like I said, is the utmost importance right now is keeping our community safe, and we can only do that if we have the correct information that we're putting out in front of people.
So you're a big advocate for the environment. Restaurants are being told to use single-use items in terms of trying to limit the potential spread. How do you think people can stay environmentally friendly while still trying to limit the spread of germs, but also do you think there's going to be long-term effects to our environment because of what's happening?
I hope there's not. I think right now we need to focus on stopping the spread of this virus and stop, or to minimize the exposure. A lot of people who are young and healthy think that may they not be as susceptible or at risk, but it's important for people to realize that even if they are young and healthy, they can be carriers for this and expose the people who are, more vulnerable to this disease and this virus. So, there are some things that you can do when ordering takeout, and by not taking the plastic silverware, by using your own at home. These are small things, but I think first and foremost, we need to put our emphasis on stopping the spread of it and minimizing your exposure to it.
What is the most important message that you feel needs to be said to your constituents?
I think the message is we will get through this. We will get through this as long as we keep pushing out accurate information and we look out for one another. I can tell you that on the federal government side, we're doing everything we can to watch out for our small businesses, our food and beverage industry here in the Low Country, and the employees in the gig economy and those folks who are working by the hour. We're going to have to make some tough decisions as to this economy and decisions that will impact our businesses here in the Low Country. But at the same time, we're a strong nation, we're a very strong community, and we look out for each other down here in the Low Country. So we will make it through this. I would encourage everybody to just stay up to date with the most accurate information and follow the guidance provided by the experts, including our state and local and federal officials. And if we do that, and if we continue looking out for each other, like I said, we will get through this just fine.
What's the Cunningham household doing to stay on top of this?
Yeah, it's minimizing your exposure. I mean, obviously, we're in the same situation as a lot of other families are. The schools are closed, so our 2-year-old is at home with us, and we're just trying to minimize our exposure and being out in public to the extent that we can, and following those best practices and following those guidelines. And like I said, it may be a little bit painful in the short term, but hopefully we can avoid a lot of long-term negative impacts by minimizing exposure to others. The bill the House passed last week would provide for free testing. So a lot of people are, may have some reservations about filling out the questionnaire or maybe trying to seek a testing for the virus. But we've passed legislation, and hopefully the Senate will pass the same bill and get it to the President's desk that allows for free testing. And also that legislation that we passed on early Saturday morning would allow for 2 weeks of paid sick leave. And remind folks that who may have symptoms or may not feel well to stay home. And we recognize that a lot of people who get paid by the hour or live paycheck to paycheck have that strong desire to go into work. However, you need to keep in mind that you could and will be exposing other people to the illness should you do so. And so, from our perspective, we're trying to make those decisions easier for people, and so that they don't have to decide between going into work and earning a paycheck or staying home and not while being sick. So we're doing everything we can on the federal side. Like I said, we have the $8.3 billion spending package that we passed a couple weeks ago that provides some relief towards small businesses, like the $7 billion worth of small business loans. But we still have a lot of work to do in helping out small business, and specifically the food and beverage industry and the tourism industry, which is so pivotal to our economy here in the Low Country. And like I said, those small business loans are a step in the right direction, but we need more, and there's going to have to be a large injection of capital into those small businesses, food and bev, and the tourism industry in order to keep it afloat here in the Low Country.
What does your future timeline look like as a congressman over the next week or two, I guess, for people who are just curious?
Well, we passed the bill out of the House early Saturday morning. That's in the Senate right now. We're hoping the Senate passes it in short order and sends it to the President's desk. But there's already discussions about a third funding bill, and while we're scheduled to be in session next week, everything is kind of in limbo right now. So should know later on this week whether or not we can get back up there. But I'm anxious to continue and get started back on that third bill that helps address a lot of the industries that are key here in the Low Country, including tourism and the food and beverage industry, because it's those employees who are tipped workers or hourly workers who are really feeling the heavy load of this.